Welcome to the book summary of The Mask of Masculinity by Lewis Howes. Now, before we dive into the book, let's first give a bit more background about Lewis and why he wrote this book in the first place. Lewis Howes is a lifestyle entrepreneur, business coach, and keynote speaker. He is mostly known for his podcast, The School of Greatness. On this podcast, Lewis interviews the top performers in their field, from entrepreneurs to doctors and psychologists. Up to now, his podcast gained over 45 million subscribers. Besides that, Lewis is a New York Times best-selling author of the book The School of Greatness, which is basically a summary of all his podcast interviews. So, what made Lewis Howes write this book? Well, after his first successful book launch, Lewis started to feel unfulfilled. Despite his successes as a businessman, his intimate relationships started to fall apart. He started to feel lonely and insecure about himself. During his whole life, Lewis was taught that becoming a real man is about toughening up, striving for more, and not showing emotions. In other words, Lewis was taught the traditional notions of masculinity, such as work hard, be tough, or don't be emotional. But is this way of teaching masculinity really working? Lewis started researching this question in more detail. On his podcast, he started asking every male person the following questions. What does it mean for you to be a man? What is your greatest fear? And who are you pretending to be? After a journey of interviewing and self-discovery, he learned that men put on 9 different masks of masculinity. In his book, Lewis explains why men wear certain masks and how putting them off will benefit their life. As Lewis explains, putting off these masks will allow you to be who you really are. So here are the 9 masks of masculinity. Number 1, the Stoic Mask. The Stoic Mask will tell a man to prove himself by being invulnerable and tough. All his emotions should be carefully managed and suppressed. There is no room for crying, pain, feelings, or emotions. The Stoics would refer to this emotionless state as apatheia. However, Lewis learned that there is nothing wrong with showing your real emotions. Dropping this mask, he says, will give man emotional freedom, deeper relationships with men and women, and the permission to really feel again. Number 2, the Athlete Mask. The Athlete Mask tells a man to prove himself by being good at sports. It will try to convince men from the fact that a good athlete equals a good man. This translates into him spending hours in the gym to get in shape, or him fighting through injuries and pain to win at all costs. However, as Lewis explains, wearing this mask strips you from a lot of joyful things in life. Dropping this mask, he says, will help man gain back new experiences, a better relationship with other people, and gaining time to do other things that they enjoy. Number 3, the Material Mask. The Material Mask will tell a man to prove his worth by the amount of money in his bank account. In this way, his cars, his houses, his watches, and social media feeds become a representation of who he really is. As Lewis argues, this is a game you can never win. There will always be someone who will earn more money or own a bigger house or car. What we need to realize, he says, is that we are valuable regardless of what we possess. When men drop this mask, they will start to attract people who are interested in them for who they are rather than what they have. Additionally, they will find more inner peace and gratitude. Number 4, the Sexual Mask. The Sexual Mask will tell a man that his worth is proven by his sexual conquests and the number of women he has slept with. This mask tells men that relationships are for settlers and quitters. A real man loves briefly and then leaves. As Lewis says, a man behind the sexual mask is always looking for the next hookup. He will always need someone else to make him feel good. It's a never-ending cycle, and just like drugs, it can drive him crazy. Dropping this mask, Lewis argues, will bring men more inner peace and allow them to create more fulfilling, intimate, and grounded relationships. Number 5, the Aggressive Mask. The Aggressive Mask will tell a man to prove himself by being aggressive. When he sees something that he wants, a man must go after it regardless the feelings and emotions of other people. Aggressive men tend to get into heavy arguments and fights. They think that it's okay to have a lot of enemies or haters. However, as Lewis explains, this mask will never allow men to forgive fully and live a peaceful life. Dropping this mask, Lewis says, will bring men more emotional control, self-awareness, patience, and forgiveness of others. Number 6. The Joker Mask. The Joker Mask will tell a man to prove himself that he is funny and always able to laugh away all his problems. A man behind the Joker Mask uses cynicism and sarcasm against every attempt from someone to soften him. Using humor is not a bad thing, but as Lewis argues, men often use humor as an avoidance tool in order to put attention away from their uncomfortable emotions. The result is him being perceived as closed off or unavailable. As Lewis explains, dropping this mask will allow men to have deeper relationships and people taking them more seriously. Number 7. The Invincible Mask. This mask will tell a man to not feel fear ever. A man behind the Invincible Mask takes risk and doesn't take into consideration the consequences of these risks. That's why real men are supposed to go skydiving or dive from a cliff. As Lewis explains, it's okay to admit weakness. It's okay to be scared and to opt out of stuff that you don't want to do. We have to recognize that we are not invincible. We are human beings. As Lewis explains, dropping this mask will bring men a more fulfilled and healthy lifespan, deeper relationships, self-esteem, and the permission to just be and not constantly do. Number 8. The Know-It-All Mask. This mask will tell a man to prove himself by his knowledge. A real man is supposed to have all the answers and to know exactly what to do in every situation. Because not knowing equals weakness, and this cannot be tolerated by the Know-It-All Mask. As Lewis argues, every person you meet is better than you at something, and you should always try to make sure you learn from them. Dropping this mask as a man will make other people want to be around you. It will also increase your ability to learn and grow, and gain wisdom from others. Number 9, finally, the Alpha Mask. The Alpha Mask will tell a man to prove himself as an alpha man, meaning someone who is a true winner. A true man must dominate and win everything he can. However, as Lewis says, putting up this alpha mask prevents men from truly connecting with other people. And be honest, nobody truly wants to be around someone who always wants to be right, win, or dominate. As Lewis explains, putting off this mask will allow men to create win-win scenarios in their life. It will allow them to be the hero who lifts others up or who empowers others. It will give them freedom and a deeper sense of love. Identifying these masks and putting them off allowed Lewis Howes to become a more approachable and lovable person. He became a person of service and contribution to others. The question is, which masks do you wear the most? Try to put them off, experiment for a week, see what happens. Just as for Lewis, it might also change your life. Thanks for watching.